everyone, welcome to DIY with Nancy. Today I'm going to share with you my small recipe for Massa Sovada, Portuguese sweet bread. So many of you have asked me for a small recipe, and today I decided to share this recipe with you. Now, this recipe, you know that I'm going to be making it on a step-by-step basis. You know what? For Massa Sovada, you need patience. There's a lot of kneading, there's a lot of mixing, there's a lot of waiting, and you know what? The outcome is all worth it. So I'm going to show you how to make this recipe, but before I do, I want to show you something that a lot of you have asked me about, and that is the pans that I make the Massa Sovada in. Where do I buy them? Where do you get them? So here is one of the pans that I'll be using today, and this is like an 8-inch pan, and I'll be leaving a link on the description below as to where you can purchase the pans. And on this website, which is Crown Cookware, it's called pudding pans. So when you're looking for it on the website, it's called pudding pans. They ship anywhere to Canada or the US. So I just want to show you another thing, because I'm going to be using these two pans as well. And these pans my mom gave me, so I really try to, hold on to them. This one I bought, but anyway, they're the same size, just a little deeper, okay? They're also 8-inch, just a little deeper than these here. So I hope you stay with me to watch how to make my small recipe for Massa Sovada step by step.
Let's get started. Now I'm starting off with a medium-sized saucepan. I'm adding 1 3/4 cups of milk. And to that, I'm going to add half a cup of unsalted butter. And I have here 4 tablespoons of shortening. And I'm using vegetable shortening. In the same saucepan, I'm adding 3 cups of granulated sugar. Place that all into the saucepan. To that, I'm also going to add 1 teaspoon of salt. The last ingredient I'm adding to the saucepan will be the zest of 1 lemon. I'm going to add that all into the saucepan. Next, turn your stove on to a low to medium heat and let the milk mixture come to a boil. Once the milk mixture comes to a boil, you can see it's starting to bubble and foam at the top. At that point, turn off your stove. Next, you want to stir it together. Make sure that the mixture is all well combined, and then set it aside until the mixture is lukewarm. Once your milk mixture is lukewarm, at that point you start preparing the yeast. And here I have 1 teaspoon of all-purpose flour, 1 tablespoon of granulated sugar, and 2 tablespoons of active dry yeast. Now I'm just going to use a whisk to combine that together, and at that point I'm going to add half a cup of lukewarm water and continue mixing the yeast mixture until it's well combined. I like to mix the yeast mixture to avoid any lumps of the yeast at the bottom of the bowl. Once it's mixed and combined, you're going to set it aside and let the yeast activate. Now for the next step, I'll be using my stand mixer with the whisk attachment, and I'm adding 8 large eggs, and these eggs are at room temperature. Now once I have the eggs in the mixer, I'm going to place the mixer on a high speed and let it mix for 1 minute. After 1 minute of mixing, at this point I'm ready to add my lukewarm mixture. Now I have my mixture here that's lukewarm. This is the mixture we added earlier on the stove, and it's been sitting for about 45 minutes, and it is lukewarm. I'm just going to stir it together before I add it to the egg mixture. Once your lukewarm mixture is well combined, you're going to place your mixer on a low speed and gradually add the lukewarm mixture. Now I'm going to place the mixer on a high speed and let it continue mixing for 45 seconds. After 45 seconds of mixing, turn off your mixer and let's move on to the next step. Now here I have a large bowl, which I call a panna, And this is where I'm going to be incorporating all of the ingredients, doing the kneading, and also this is where the dough is going to be rising. So I'm going to start off by adding the liquid mixture. Now this liquid mixture consists of the eggs and the lukewarm mixture, and it's been combined and mixed in the mixer. So I'm adding that all into the bowl. Next, I'm adding the activated yeast that I prepared earlier. Now you can see it's foamed up nicely, and that's how you know your yeast has activated. So I'm going to add that to the liquid mixture. Next, I'm just taking a spatula to combine the yeast and the liquid mixture. Now I'm ready to add the last ingredient, and that's 9.5 cups of all-purpose flour. So I measured the cups individually into the bowl, and I'm adding it to the mixture. Next, using my hands, I'm going to start combining the flour with the liquid mixture. And once the flour is well combined into the liquid, at that point, I will start the kneading process. Now here I'm starting the kneading process, and you'll see that the dough will feel very sticky in your hands, but gradually as you continue kneading, the dough will get fluffier. Now I just finished kneading the dough. I'm going to cover the dough, keep it in a warm place, and set my timer for 20 minutes, and then come back and knead it again. After 20 minutes, I'm going to give it another knead. So at this point, you can see that the dough is starting to rise, and I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil, and I'm going to place it around the dough, not directly onto the dough. Now this was a quick knead. I'm going to cover it up and knead it again in another 20 minutes. The kneading process is over. I'm going to cover up the dough and keep it in a warm place and wait until it doubles in size. After about 4 hours, the dough has now more than doubled in size, and at this point, I'm going to divide the dough into the baking pans. Now here I have 3 8-inch baking pans. To avoid the dough from sticking, I'll be using shortening that is at room temperature to grease the baking pans. Now when I'm greasing the baking pans, I like to grease them right to the top, because when the dough is in the oven, it will rise while it's baking, right above the pan at times. So just to be sure it doesn't stick, I want to make sure that the pan is completely coated with the shortening. Now that I have all the baking pans greased, I'm ready to divide 3 doughs into the baking pan. So I'm just going to take a piece of dough, form it into a round ball, and place it into the baking pan, just as I'm doing here, and on to the next one. The dough is divided into all 3 pans, and now I'm going to move on to the next step. At this point, the dough is ready for the second rise. I'm going to cover the dough, keep it in a warm place, and wait until the dough rises to the top of the pan. Once the dough rises to the top of the pan, you want to prepare your egg wash, and I have here 1 egg and 1 tablespoon of water, and that's what I'm going to be using to make the egg wash. Now, before I brush on the egg wash, I'm just going to use the scissor to cut some little peaks on the masa. You can leave it plain, or you can just do what I'm doing here. And finally, for the last step, I'm going to take a pastry brush and gently brush on the egg wash on top of the masa. My bulged masa are finally ready to go into the oven. I have my oven preheated at 305 degrees, and I'll be baking the masa for approximately 1 hour. After 1 hour of baking, I place a skewer in the masa, and if it comes out clean, it's ready. Here is the moment we've all been waiting for. I've removed the masa from the pans. I've let them cool for about 25 minutes. It's still slightly warm, but I have to cut into this so you can see how light and airy and fluffy this masa is. And oh, if you can just smell it. It smells amazing in this kitchen.
And that's it, everyone. I hope you all enjoyed the recipe for Massa Sovada, for a small recipe that is, of 3 bolos de massa. The masa smells so amazing. I'm definitely gonna have this with a nice cup of coffee. My mom enjoys this in the morning, a nice little slice of Massa Sovada. Now, 3 bolos de massa, one you can keep, one you can give away to a friend or to family members or to a neighbor. Even if you call them up and say, I have like a Portuguese sweet bread or Massa Sovada that's fresh and it just came out of the oven. Do you want to pick it up? Or they'll be here in no time. Believe me, I know it's happened to me. And it just, you feel great just, giving something that you made to someone else. And then, you can actually freeze the bolo de massa as well. You can place it in a plastic bag and freeze it. I don't really freeze them more than a week or 2. But once you take them out, just leave them on the counter, let it defrost, and you'd be surprised. It tastes just as fresh as the day that you made it. So anyway, I hope you all enjoyed my recipe for Massa Sovada, my small recipe for Massa Sovada. And if you did, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, everyone, thanks so much for watching. Take care.